If you are just joining us, please stand by for a couple minutes while we get everything squeaking and grinding to a start, right? I haven't streamed anything on YouTube in a long time, so let's just make sure that everything works and then we will get started. Play this. Will that play? It says I'm live. Stream health is good. I should have had like some fancy intro music or anything. This is pretty low budget production here. Alright, it says stream offline. It says stream offline, but I can't play it. Okay. Alright, things are working now. We have one person watching, that would be me. It would not be. Videos, snow, and trucks. I hear it, and I hear your mic. Excellent. Hello and welcome. Cool. Yes, it is currently snowing here in Denver. Shoveling the sidewalk. It is a lovely 25 degrees Fahrenheit. This is like the third time we've had snow this year. Should have had snow long before now, but I'll take it. Hi, puppy. Okay. Boom. Hello and welcome. I got a little bit of hat hair going on. Okay. So, we want this one. The main feature of today's show will be right here. This is a Tronxy X1. And I thought it would be a good idea to review a printer that the average person or beginner could afford. How easy is it to build? How well does it work? These are all great questions, and we're going to start finding that out today. So, in this box that I have just opened and peered in the top of and went, oh yeah, that looks pretty nice. We have everything ready to go here. So let's see what we get. Now, it should be known that I have not actually built a 3D printer before. The CR10S that I have actually came with like the Z-axis assembled and stuff like that. So it was really easy to assemble. You didn't have to put that together in the level of detail that we're going to have to assemble this one. So this will be a good test for me because I don't necessarily have experience doing that. I am a very mechanically inclined person, so it shouldn't be too bad. But I'm no expert either, so this will be a good gauge for the average person or hobbyist. Alright, so in the box we have, and it should be noted, and I'll get all this in a later video, but when I looked at all of the other options in the $100, sub $150 range, sub $200 range, I went with something that I thought had a good structural design that would produce consistently good prints. I've seen a lot of things that are just made out of like plexiglass and plastic parts, and they're terrible. So hopefully this works out a little bit better. Yeah, the CR10's working well. I got a bunch more videos to do on that. So I have a Razor phone, and I just designed and printed this case for it out of the elastic filament. And this works way better than any crappy case that they have on their site or anything like that. So, yeah, printer's been working good. Alright, so let's take some pieces out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set this box aside. Now this actually includes all the tools to assemble it, which is awesome because everything of mine is in the garage. So take some stuff out here and take a look at it. I always like when you purchase a 3D printer and some of the parts that are included have been 3D printed. Meaty. That must be the base. Oh, and it should be known that I'm actually going to give away this printer after I'm done assembling it and messing around with it and reviewing it. So look for details on that in a future video. And random plastic bit. Okay, so this is the top layer of everything that's in the box there, which is main structural stuff. All of the motors and the extruder and everything else is in the bottom there. Okay, so first off, instructions. We have to consult Manuel. Manuel knows everything. I never open the cheap bags. Okay. Bloop. It just says 8 gigabytes. 8 gigabytes. So let's go ahead and pop this in the computer and see what our instructions look like. I did print the flexible filament with the original Bowden setup. Well, with my, modded extruder, of course. That upgrade part I designed. But it prints just fine. A lot of people say that you have to have the direct drive, and I could see that, especially for any filaments, flexible filaments, softer than what I used. But it worked. I had pretty good results. I feel like the results could be better. Maybe they would be better with a more direct drive extruder. I'll have to try that out. Alright, so in our Tronxy card here, we got Assemble Guide, Operating Instruction, X1 Part List. Excellent. So this is everything that should be included. And then... oh, you know what? I could make this a bit smaller. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so we want the assembly guide. There's pictures. Hey. It's actually step by step. Wow, okay. Insert screw A into hole B and take beam C and stick it in slot D. Okay, cool. So this will be pretty straightforward. All right. All right, so here we go step by step. Trials and tribulations of assembling a 3D printer. Oh, and while I'm sort of here, I'll show you what's in the bottom of the box, so you can see what's in there, know what to expect. So we got our motors, smaller plastic pieces, hardware, wiring, the extruder, of course. That's cute. A cord that I wouldn't trust to carry 15 amps. And 4 rollers. I mean, it is just a printer. It's not going to draw 15 amps. I just need to be careful which cord bin I put it into if it ever gets mixed up in there. Ah, okay. And then the control cards. On the front end. The human interface. All right. Step 1, allocate more allocate 8 hours. Oh my goodness. And for those of you that are watching, I am keeping an eye on the YouTube chat here, so if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, yeah, hit that chat box there. And you're welcome to ask me other things that aren't necessarily related to 3D printer assembly, because I can understand this might be like watching paint dry for some of you, which is okay. It's understandably boring for some. But ask me anything. Right? Let's make it interesting. So let's peel the cardboard, paper backing off. Cardboard. It's the thinnest cardboard ever. All right. Pretty awesome, yeah. Alright, so right off the bat, I like how thick the base is. That's pretty sweet. Alright, so we need the long need the double-ended piece here. There's a 250 millimeter piece. Okay. So let's see. I gotta do the conversion on that. 250 millimeters is gonna be like 8 inches or something like that. It is 9.8 inches. Okay, so that would be this one, not that one. Oh, look at the plastic dust covers. Oh, so fancy. What do you think they're going to do once the Panama Canal is just no longer able to keep up with the demand of the ever-growing transport industry, and another upgrade/overhaul just isn't worth it? Well, hopefully by then we'll have drone deliveries figured out, right? And then shipping will be a thing of the past, because UAVs can actually do all the cargo transport overseas. That's my theory anyway. I'm no expert. You wanted people to ask me. 25.4 millimeters to the inch. Ah, good to know. I always knew it was like 24 or somewhere in there. I get that from working on cars. 25.4 is the actual answer. Alright, so I'm getting out some T-nuts right now. For those of you that can't see, I guess you could see more of my messy desk if you like. There's a house plant here. It's on my desk because the cat keeps using it as a litter box, and he hasn't actually pooped in there, but he has made a dirt mess everywhere and ruined the plant. So this is 2 weeks later. It's finally coming back. All right, 3 nuts, 3 screws. Alright, so here's our nuts. Overseas drones, I kind of like the idea for small scale, but imagine having to regulate that sort of air traffic on a global scale. You know, speaking of air traffic and regulation of things, I kind of wonder what we're going to do about all of the space junk, because I know we already track all of the space junk and everything else, but once... commercial flights, you know, like that exit the atmosphere, go around the world, and come back in, become a thing. How we're going to handle that problem exactly. Okay, so this is using the included tools. Get my T-nuts on here. I'm going to start these like this. And when you're putting a T-nut in, the angled sides go into the beam. You want the little flange side hanging below. The little perforations there are the teeth that actually grab when you tighten up the screw and cinch it up. Two, three. Well, we don't, well, I mean, think about it. At this point, you could take a 747 and make it a drone. It would be a damn dangerous drone, but you could fly cargo across using something like that, right? Maybe? Oh God, don't use the supplied tools. Oh yeah, we're using the supplied tools. You better believe it. Alright, so what I've done here... Oh, you can see my ceiling. Interesting. Okay, so I put my 3 screws in. I got my T-nuts here, and I've just barely threaded these on. You want to just barely put them on so they can go into the slots properly. And the idea is that when you turn it to tighten the screw, the T-nut's going to turn 90 degrees in the slot and pinch and cinch that up to lock it in place. Oh, over here. There we go. Yeah, right, like you could actually see that. But, trust me, it works magically. Okay, so with our 3 T-nuts in, that completes the beginning of the base. Next, we need the 70mm piece of extruded aluminium for our UK friends. It never ends well. See, just to make sure I get this in the right place, that's going to be there with 2 holes passed. Looks good to me. We'll add just a skosh more light here so y'all can see. Okay, and I need another T-nut. And another screw. Oh. I need to move this over slightly. There we go. Same process. Once again, we'll barely screw the screw. Put our extruded aluminium on top there. There's a bit of slop, so make sure you get that square, I guess, huh? It's not going to just be magically square on its own. Oh, wait a minute. There, no? Okay. I see there's a threaded hole in here, and the threaded hole points outward to the outside of the base there, so that is indeed the... There we go. So if I butt that up flat against there, We'll call that almost square. If I go by the cutoff on the end there, and depend on that butting up against this, you really can't see that, can you? Move this up a little bit. I have a desk that big. I wish I could find space on it. Trust me, I had to take a shovel to this thing to get this much space out. Anyway. So I kind of eyeballed that for square. I don't know if that matters. We'll find out here in a little bit, I guess. But certainly don't depend on the cutoff being square. Alrighty. Okay, now we're going to put assemble bits. Okay, not those. These. So I guess this will square it up, because these are definitely square. Another thing worth noting is I'm going to loosen this screw slightly until these are cinched up and actually holding that square, because if that's tight in there, I mean, look at how much adjustment you get out of that. Put the thing through the thing, and then you screw the thing to the thing. Screw this here. Give me another nut. These are definitely square. Famous last words. For those of you just joining us, hello and welcome to the Tronxy X1 3D Printer Assembly Live. We are just getting started, so grab some popcorn, sit back, and think of some questions, because this is also an Ask Me Anything. We can discuss whatever's clever. If you need advice, lottery numbers, intercontinental drone deliveries, we might be able to accommodate you. Alright, so get this other one sorted out. Oh, let's test out the other angle here. Oh, look at that. Cool. Oh, wrong nuts. There we go. I would take some extra time and try to find something to square the frame with. That's going to show through the printer's performance everywhere, especially if you're giving this away. Yeah, definitely. When I get to a point where I have a lot of this together, I will actually go grab something that is square to try it out and make sure that it is actually square. These cast aluminum pieces are square. Well, I say that. Man, if you ever have a live stream and it involves tools, make sure you get the tools ahead of time. Just saying. Pro tips, yo. Okay. Yeah, these are square, so and that's where it's attaching to, and it should square up. But you are right. We will definitely double check. Cool. Got a couple sets of those. These are for like cabinets. Guess there are some elements of IKEA in here. Oop. Boy, I'm not sure I like that very much. Alright, where's my calipers? Alright, they want M4x8. 4x8, that's this. That is this. Alright, so I already see a problem here. These guys here, which are supposed to be attaching. So right now we have a single screw holding that to the base, right there, and it's going to butt up against here, and then there's going to be a couple of angle brackets like this. Now, the instructions call for this screw to be used with this. This screw head is almost the same size as this hull. So I could just do that. But in the case of this one, thanks to poor manufacturing tolerances, the screw head is the same size as the hull. Oh, so we're going to throw a couple washers on there and make that correct. Yeah. That's mildly disappointing. You could have... Well, okay, the instructions don't have washers in there, but... Yeah, it's not like they're going to give you extras. The only thing that I could see them maybe giving you extra of is the T-nuts. Ow! Alright. Hold on a second. You guys are going to laugh at me. Or maybe not, I don't know. Actually, I think the joke's on me because I can't find it. I'll put this on. Don't mind the mess. Did I just show my ass to the live stream? Probably. Okay. Those corner brackets look to be made for M6, not M4. Yeah, I agree with you. Unfortunately, the instructions clearly say M4. Wait, are there... There's other hardware in here that I guess I could use, but then I'd be taking it away from something else. So we're just gonna make this an additive process. Everything's better with a bag of screws. Two. Alright, two more. One more. That's sort of a ridiculous washer for this purpose. Well, screw it. Alright. I usually throw away the supplied hardware in kits like these. Not until you drop the supplied one and never recover it. Oh man. Okay. So let's properly prep our angles before we install them. Now hopefully the washer doesn't take up so much slack that the T-nut doesn't secure properly. That'd be par for the course, I guess. Okay, that washer's too small still. Go big or go home. Alright, let's try that before we continue. Alright. There's one. Gotta get one more washer. So far my opinion of this printer is have a hardware store nearby. There we go. A biggin. For those of you just joining us, hello and welcome to the Doogie Labs live stream. Today, we are assembling a Tronxy X1 3D printer, which requires additional hardware. Alright, now this is a thick washer, so hopefully that's okay. I think it will be. This is also an Ask Me Anything, so I am watching the live chat right now, and if you have questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, please hit that comment box and let me know how you feel. Alright. So there is our next one, using the included screwdriver. Ooh, thick washer is not going to play nice, I don't think. Oh. Oh, okay, it went. Alrighty. Get this one. Hey, maybe the secret is to use the included tools. Just saying. Alright, so our once not square piece is now secured with some things that look fairly closely representative of square. Okay. Square thing. I had a square thing somewhere. Where'd it go? This. Is it square? Miraculously. Okay, let's go ahead and cinch up this bottom screw. Oh, oops. Snuck in my own tool there. We don't want to taint the build quality. I'm actually impressed that they included tools. I mean, when you purchase a printer for $100, you don't exactly expect a screwdriver. Although, I have a bunch of screwdrivers, so if it could be $1 less without one, maybe that's not such a bad idea, but that'd be taking away from the less fortunate. Okay. For some people, that's all they have. Okay. Next. 30 minutes in, 40 minutes in, we're on step 3. We have had to get hardware from somewhere else. All right. Okay. So now we're going to put the tower on. The Z slide rail. So this has a couple of threaded holes there, and then it's got a hole through, and the through hole goes into the end hole, and the end holes go into these holes, right? You think that screwdriver is a whole $1? You got a point. A whole $1? Alright, so for securing the base to the top, you need M5 by 10. Let's see. Or wait. Yeah. M5 by 10. Okay. So if I had to guess with my Americanized metricated eyeballs, this would be... That's clearly wrong. Okay. There we go. Ten by 5. Sweet. So 2 of those, and then the long one is a M5 by 40. Cool. All right, so these are what we need. Throw this in here. So let's do the long one first. We'll get the bottom. Those holes don't really line up. Right there. They're close. But I have a feeling that if I loosen this... Yeah, look at that, like magic. So if your holes don't line up here, loosen the screw for your 70mm extruded aluminum piece. There we go. If you get threads that feel kind of funny, doesn't want to start right, pro tip, you can turn the screw backwards, and then you won't hear this, but it'll make a click, and then you can turn forwards from there, and usually that prevents you from cross-threading a screw. Okay. So this is our base so far. We can tighten this one back up. It's very interesting. This is hanging off here, but it's just under here. I think if I loosen these... This screwdriver's bent. Ugh. Yeah, there's definitely some play in there. So I'm going to even these up. I may not be a pro 3D printer builder, but I'm certainly going to build it like a pro. For those of you just joining, hello and welcome to the Doogie Labs live stream. Today we are assembling a Tronxy X1 3D printer. This is also an Ask Me Anything because this will be a lengthy live stream as we are actually assembling this live. No rehearsal, no nothing. I'm going through the instructions, busting out the hardware store, and just digging right in. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, hit that comment box below. Let us know, steer the conversation, and enjoy. So we have got our Z slide rail installed, and now we need to, we're on step 4. So 45 minutes in, we're on step 4. No. Fix the Z slide rail. Fix it? You have to like, are you just assuming that I broke it installing it? No. Alright, so L-shaped acrylic block. Oh, super brain. That's awesome. Alright, so here is our L with Moti nuts. Moti nuts. I hope y'all understand. I'm like the biggest dork. Have fun with it. I mean, why do I have to put on this facade of, oh, be a man? Just enjoy. Enjoy life. So I guess since we don't really have any questions or anything, I can just talk for a bit. Let's talk about stuff. What do you want to talk about? Oh wait, what do I need for this for hardware? M4 by 8. Okay, so we're back to our de facto standard. These screws. That's the Ultra Fire motto. Oh, for my automotive fans, I have been working on the bus some more. We have been working on getting the interior sort of put together. The last couple of days it was 60 degrees here, and so I took the liberty of removing the old floor and putting in the new floor, and now instead of black carpet on the floor, there is actually laminate flooring, like for a house. So that's pretty awesome. No more messy carpet that dog hairs and everything else gets ingrained into. We can just wipe it up with the laminate flooring. The rear seat frame has been done for some time. I got the new front seats put in the last couple of days as well. And we're going to start on electronics and the rest of that probably next week sometime. So we got a lot more car stuff coming up on this channel as well. Alright, so I got my T-nuts almost all the way put together here. We're going to go ahead and slip this in. Now they have this... where's my camera? Here we go. So we have 2 vertical slats here and our horizontal here. So for step 4, they want you to take the 3 here and put them in the vertical, and you leave your 1 here on the horizontal. And so if you orient these ahead of time, it goes a little bit easier. So I'm going to orient these horizontally and those vertically. We're going to slap this on. Oh, it rotated on me. Can't win them all, I guess. Do the jiggle. Whoop. Okay. Did that one turn? I can't tell. We have a gap here too. Geez, I'm gonna have to just keep this screw loose. This whole thing. I'm loosening all these back up so I can get all these edges to line up correctly. It's quite interesting how often I have to go back and there we go. Okay. I think we're done with the structural pieces. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten these. Again. Actually, wait, I'm going to loosen this one. Tighten these like this. That's square with there. Tighten that. I am not impressed so far. Next, the motor mount for the Y-axis. They have it oriented this way in the instructions, so you can see how I'm orientating it. No. All right. And they want this on this side. Like this. So that sits on there. Peel the paper. Your opinion on stop leak power steering fluid. It works in some instances, but I'm going to say no, not most of the time. Now, it doesn't actually hurt the power steering system or anything, at least that I've seen in my experience. But if you have to add if you have an occasional drip on the driveway, stop leak might work for you. I have had stop leak work in one of my cars. That's the best part about being a mechanic is you would think, most people would think, that mechanics take care of their cars, and most of the time that is the case. I have vehicles that I take very good care of, but I'll tell you this much. I didn't learn about what bad noises sound like and the cause and effect relationships of the failures of various components without actually taking the vehicle I own and running the brake pads completely out. And that makes the difference between somebody coming up to me and saying, my brakes are making this squeaking noise, do you think I should change them? And I could say, yeah, probably, and my whole dashboard's vibrating when I step on the brakes. What do you think's wrong? And then I could tell that person they should change their brakes immediately, right? So, yeah, not all mechanics have, or not all cars mechanics own are very well taken care of. At least, in my opinion, the better mechanics. Okay, so 42 stepper motor, 1 pieces. I gotta get out the stepper motor here. Now they have the one with the collar on the bottom. And what I mean by that is, for the y-axis here, this sprocket has the set screws on the bottom, and the cog part of the sprocket is closer to the tip. So that's the motor for the y-axis. And I have the switch here. We're going to need the switch because an end-stop switch is here. And I need the screws for that. And that is going to be... Oh, that's what the holes are for. See, in the picture it has those nut-shaped holes. Well, that doesn't matter. Okay, so M3 by 8. 4 pieces. So we're going to get our M3 by 8s out here. Yeah, it just sounds like the stop leak crap for air conditioners kills the compressor in half the time. Oh. Yeah. I don't know. I can't really speak to the longevity of an air conditioning system after adding something like stop leak, but I do caution against using something like stop leak in an air conditioning system just for the fact that AC systems depend on or how do I best explain this? So the tube size in an air conditioning system matters because if the tube size is too large, then the gas velocity ends up so low that it can't actually carry the oil through the entire system. And so tubing size in an air conditioning system is actually as vitally important as orifice size and everything else. And so when you're adding stop leak into an air conditioning system, like a refrigeration system like that, you are sort of inhibiting, you're changing the characteristics of the oil flow and how it's carried through the rest of the system with the refrigerant. And I think that adding stop leak might inhibit that in a way, or maybe even prevent the compressor from being properly oiled. So not that I've seen those results for myself, where an AC system is actually shortened by adding the stop leak die. But if there is a decrease in life expectancy as a result of doing that, I am not surprised in the least. Okay, so this goes this way, where we have the 2 holes on the bottom. The switch is going to go here, and then the motor is going to poke through this way. And they oriented the motor so the connector points in. So that's the way that I'm going to put it on here. These are the screws. Sounds like stop leak crap or you can just look it up on YouTube. You'll find quite a few texts saying it's the worst. You know, it's been a while since I've actually looked at refrigeration videos on YouTube to see if there's anything new going on. What a weird hobby. Now, that's interesting. And I'm assuming it's just a compressor failure at that point. It's not like, well, a block TXV could be, that's a symptom of compressor failure because you got pieces actually coming off and floating around in the system. That's lovely. I'm not putting stop leak in any of my air conditioning systems. Thanks for that that factoid. You know, actually, that explains something, because I got this Honda Civic that, and oh, this is a hilarious story. You guys are gonna love this. What I should say is, many people don't know that Honda guarantees the seatbelts in their cars for life. So if your seatbelt in your Honda wears through, or doesn't retract properly, or the buckle breaks, you don't have to pay a mechanic. You don't have to go to the junkyard. You can just take your Honda to the Honda dealership, and they have a lifetime warranty on all of their seatbelts. And hold on one sec. I gotta check my hardware here. M2. Okay, I need an M2 by 10 two pieces and an M2 nut. Okay, so my brother. This is my brother's fault. My brother got this Honda for his roommate, and his roommate decided that he never wanted to try to learn how to drive stick. I didn't realize it was that complicated, but okay. I mean, that's something. I mean, whatever. Whatever floats your boat. That's your preference. And he decided not to, and wanted me to sell the car. And I thought, okay, yeah, cool. I can do that. And so I went through the car to make it nice, and I had to replace the steering rack because the steering rack leaked. So instead of putting stop leak in the power steering rack, I actually found a steering rack and replaced the entire rack. And then I replaced the air conditioning compressor because it was seized and it had stop leak in the system. So it's very interesting that Super Brain AK pointed out that there's a shorter life expectancy after putting stop leak in an AC system, because I actually did this month see a failure that could be a result of that, because the system was otherwise healthy except for, you know, I guess whatever leak there was, and it wasn't obviously that bad because the car had been sitting for 6 months, and then I got a hold of it and the system was still charged. So maybe the stop leak did work, or whatever, but I think that adding the dye and whatever they put in the AC system seized the compressor. So I replaced the compressor and did all that stuff. But anyway, on to the seatbelt thing. Honda guarantees their seatbelts for life in their cars. And so I scheduled an appointment at the dealership because the driver's side seatbelt is fraying really bad. And I'm like, if I'm going to sell this car to somebody, it needs to be safe. And so go to Honda, and I drop off the car, and a week goes by. And I call Honda, they're like, hey, what's going on? And Honda says that, unfortunately, they discontinued the parts. And they can't find a seatbelt to replace the frayed one with that's already in the car, and that they would get back to me. And so at this point I'm like, all right, are you gonna send me a new Honda? Like, and they found one somewhere, and it's brown though, and the seatbelt was originally gray. Not a big deal. I said, I don't care, just make it safe. And so the car's going to be sold with a brown seatbelt on the driver's side instead of a gray one, but hey, that's okay. But the seatbelts, at least for the 95 Honda Civic, have been discontinued. So I really wonder what's going to happen the first time somebody wants to get a seatbelt replaced and they just simply can't accommodate that customer. Like, do you win a free Honda Civic at that point? What's the door prize for that? Random thoughts. For those of you just joining us, hello and welcome to the Doogie Labs live stream. We are assembling a Tronxy X1 3D printer right now. I've never assembled a 3D printer before. My CR10 came mostly pre-assembled. I mean, I had to do final assembly on it. But this is sort of a ground-up build. This is a $100 or sub $150 3D printer. I figured let's try something the average person could afford, right? So that's what we're doing right now while we are talking about lots of things, air conditioning systems, drones, and the like. This is an Ask Me Anything, so you probably don't know who I am, and you're welcome to ask questions about that or discuss most of anything else, though I am going to bar politics from this discussion, so we don't need none of that. But everything else is open season here. So with that, I have assembled the Y-axis motor with the limit switch, and we are going to go ahead and put this on there. Now in the picture, it shows the nuts going on the inside of the cup here, so that's what I've done. And then we got our M3 by 8 in there holding in the motor, so we are ready to go ahead and throw that on. I have not tightened this gear down yet, so it keeps sliding off on me. Go me. All right. Boop, 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 boop. Mr. Gel comments, I've been listening to you do your thing while tinkering on my own CR10S. I gotta say I like the way you handle the stream. Well, thank you. I also like that your channel isn't one that normally would be on my list, but thanks to 3D printing, there's a common ground, and I'm picking up on things about cars, which I have no clue about. Yeah, that's, you know, as, how do I explain this? Being a Renaissance man of sorts, right? Jack of all trades, master of none sort of person. There's a lot of things that I know, and I try to share them on my channel. And it makes some people bored, because some people do come in for just 3D printers, some people do just come in for cars, and then they see like 3 months of computer videos or 3 months of car videos or whatever. And I try to break it up and do one or do a different thing every time I put up a video. Sometimes it doesn't work that way, of course. And I do feel like some people get bored with that, but those who pay attention and subscribe seem to stick around, because there is a treasure trove of information on this channel, especially on my old videos. And that's why I do this, really, is because I enjoy the education end of it. Master of few. Thanks, Rocco. Rocco says I've mastered a few. Rocco would know. Okay, so I'm getting pretty far ahead of my blabbering here. We need our standard M4 by 8s to get this thing secured to our base plate. And with that, we need our T-nuts. Same here. I'm fascinated with how things work, and that's what's kept me going. I've tried so many different things and learned from it that it's worth it to experiment and just have fun. You can learn so much from just poking around and seeing results that you don't necessarily expect, and so on. Actually, I was having an unrelated conversation with my parents about this last night, but I said, you know what the best thing about being human is? Discovery. That's one of the, you know, along with love and compassion, compassion's a part of love, but what I should say is, along with love and the soul and like those things that make humanity sacred, at least in my opinion, discovery is one of those sacred things as well. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and... I'm going to try and cheat and slide this on... Nah, I'll just do this. So, if you've never assembled anything with extruded aluminum parts before, I must say these T-nuts can be kind of tricky. And one way to get them to cooperate is, I explained earlier how you take the T-nut and you barely screw the end of the screw into it, right? So you can get as much in there as possible. When you do your initial tightening of the screwdriver, if you kind of flick the screwdriver when you tighten it, it'll twist that nut 90 degrees and get it to grab and seat in there pretty quickly. Okay, so we have that done. Oh, I should have posted, I didn't think about this, I should have posted a link to the assembly guide for this so you all could follow along. I am by no means an expert on assembling 3D printers, though I'm an expert in some other things, possibly. But it's kind of fun, you know, when you have a lot of people building the same thing at once. So this is the Tronxy X1. And we are now on step 6. Oh boy. Assemble the bed frame. All right. So, we need the bed frame is a goofy shaped thing with some holes in it. That looks pretty goofy shaped to me. Let's see. Did they provide you with drop-in T-nuts or slide-in? Slide-in, just saw a close picture. No, it's not a 2-pole servo. The wires that you see hanging off there are from the limit switch. Expect to have extra screws. I really like it when they give you extra hardware with things. The problem is that they don't explicitly tell you how much extra hardware is in there, and so you're like, am I doing this right? You leave yourself, it leaves you questioning yourself at the end, right? You'll quickly become an expert. That or it'll go out the window. Yep. Isn't that how life is, in a way? You know, it's just a crash course. And if you crash, you crash. But if you complete the course, you are now an expert. So here in a couple of weeks, I'm going to post a video, and in that video will be details on how you can enter to win this printer. You don't even have to assemble it. You are going to get this very printer, complete with any modifications that I do between then and now. Okay. So they have this plate oriented. Let's see, I gotta turn this back around. And they have this guy like this. Okay, and then we need wheels, wheels. Who's got the wheels? You got the wheels, I got the wheels. Here's some wheels, little rubber wheels. Wheels, 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 wheels. These things are cool. Alright, so there should be little bushings or something in the... Or what do they got here? Wheel, plastic pillar. Plastic pillar. Is that like plastique? Fancy plastic? Alright, we got our plastique pillar. Got our wheels, we got our bed frame. N5 by 30. 3 of those. 3 of those. Cool. These should be our 30s, so let me double check that. 5 by 30. Where's my calipers? Oh. Jump out and bite you. Those are 40. Oops. Alright, we need the 30s. Those of you following along, we are assembling our Tronxy X1. We are on step 6 of the assembly guide. We take our 30mm M5 screws and place them in the frame. Let me give you a little bit better view here. So we've placed our screws in the frame as per the diagram. And then we take our plastique pillars. Oh, so fancy. Whoop. And then... Oh, they have the nuts pointing up. I wonder if that makes any difference. Shouldn't. It's one of those things. Do I do it like the picture, or... Alright, and then 3 M5 nuts. That's one of those things you got to pay attention to if you ever assemble anything like this, is the orientation of fasteners in the images. It's a trap for young players. I'm going to actually do that. I kind of don't think it matters on this particular piece, but I'd like to think they did that with purpose. So I'm going to put the screw through the wheel, the also fancy plastic, and our nut. How did you make the hovercraft that lifted 70 pounds? You know, that was kind of a random idea. I found the computer fans first. And I was like, this would make an awesome hovercraft. And then after that, the rest just kind of fell into place. Got this one. Bloop. The hovercraft, for those of you that don't know what Tarango Demon's talking about, I took some computer fans, some foam board, and a shower curtain, and I built a hovercraft, and the thing physically is actually pretty large. It's, I want to say, almost 3 feet long, 2 feet wide, and it's probably like 12 or 13 inches tall. And it uses an ESC out of a quadrotor helicopter, and has I can't remember what motors there are, like 700 kV motors or something like that. And it can go like 40 miles an hour. It can carry up to 70 pounds. And it was just this thing I kind of threw together. And that worked out pretty good. I'm going to stop for a second. Monkey asked, are none of those eccentric nuts? And the answer is no. None of them are. And that's kind of disappointing, actually, because on the CR10, and this is what's really nice about the CR10, is there's an adjustment to pinch these rollers tighter or looser against here, and none of these are eccentric, so there's no adjustment there. An upgrade might be actually to add some of those, but I'm going to go ahead and slide this on now. And it was oriented this way. So for those of you following along, got my tower like this. I got this oriented this, or wait a minute, I think that's wrong. That is wrong. It goes this way. It goes like this. Check, check, double check, recheck, all the checks. Well, that doesn't make sense. Okay, there we go. This is what happens when you do more talking than working. Just saying. Okay. Alright, so there is our bed frame. I call it a trolley because trolley is a cool word. Okay. There's actually no slop in here. I'm fairly impressed. These nuts are not lock nuts. None of this is eccentric, so there's no way to tighten or loosen this against here. But, surprisingly, that is really smooth and tight. There isn't really any slop in there. Now, because we're building this doogie style, and the devil's in the details in this channel, we're going to go ahead and oil these up just a little. I got some Labelle 102. This is gear lubricant for model trains. So this ought to be a pretty light and appropriate oil for this. Dab will do ya. All right. Should probably go through and oil my CR10. Oh, much better. Okay, now they want me to do. Oh. Boy, it's getting serious now. We're about to get a belt out. No eccentric nuts, no lock nuts, and Teflon standoffs. That's a long-term stable design right there. Monkey, I agree. I mean, it's $100, but you know what's interesting is printers, like, I've logged hundreds of hours on my CR10 already from printing things. These are machines that get used for a long time, so get a little nervous when you see things like that, huh? Alright. Is this one belt or two? Okay, this is two. This is cool. Yeah, in my house, things get serious when the belt comes out. It's $100, but it's amazing just how much better another $5 could make it. Absolutely. Alright, so I need my cog. We had lost earlier. Okay. Now, ow! I just got poked in the butt. Ow, thanks, chair. You're the greatest. Alright. Bink. Move this camera angle a little bit here. Okay. So I see here that there's a hole through the center of the extruded aluminum. So this hole here, I'm betting, is where the belt passes through. I'm going to read ahead here slightly. Yep. Crotch cannons go. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and feed this on through here. This gets fed through here. How much longer does this need to be, really? Oh, I guess they give you extra for good reason. Okay, so there's that, and the belt just goes through the little slot here on the table, on the trolley. For those of you just joining, hello and welcome to the Doogie Labs live stream. Today we are assembling a Tronxy X1 3D printer. And we are on step 6 of the assembly manual, so if you want to Google around for the manual and follow along, you can. We are also talking about other things because, let's face it, assembling a 3D printer isn't necessarily the most entertaining thing, but this is intended to be here for people who haven't necessarily assembled a 3D printer before and are curious what all is involved when purchasing, especially one of these more inexpensive 3D printer kits online and putting it together. So this video is intended on covering all of those logistics, and at the same time we are having a discussion here. I'm watching the live chat, so if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, feel free to hit that live chat box and ask away. We've covered a wide variety of topics this afternoon on our 3D printer assembly journey. So Monkey is asking if it's a steel belt. Got a magnet? Check to see if it's a steel belt. I don't have a magnet. I try to keep magnets away from things in this room. I might have a magnet outside, though. So next time I'm up, I'll grab one. What's involved? Patience and strong alcohol. Yeah, that's about right. Okay, so we are actually going to move on to step 7, assemble y-axis belt pulley. Okay, so of our tiny 3D acrylic pieces, my goodness. Okay, we need that, I believe. Check all the rest of these. Okay. That's the one. Peel all this off so we're in style. The mining rig's been working good. Speaking of, since Monkey's here and listening, the mining rig has been working well. Gen 2 has been behaving. And I must say that I am thoroughly impressed with the increase in throughput that I got from moving all of my storage to the new box. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I recently built a new server from older hardware, of course. It's a dual 1366 socket, so it's got a pair of 3 gigahertz 6 cores in it, and it's not terrible. So, but it is 5, 6, 8-year-old hardware. And in it, I put 16 2-terabyte hard drives that are connected via a pair of 8-port host bus adapters, and I use software RAID and RAID 6. And I am able to get a sustained like 2 gigabytes a second write speed to this hard drive array. And I have about 25 terabytes of usable storage space in this array. It is attached to a 120 tape LTO3 tape library for long-term archival type storage. And I also use this for CCTV. So at the very beginning of this stream, some of you might have seen this, which is actually ZoneMinder, some free CCTV software. So not only does this hard drive array store everything in my house, it actually, using the remaining space, because I only occupy about 8 terabytes of the 25 terabytes of space, ZoneMinder uses the remainder of that space to store CCTV footage for my house. And it, I have the quota set to only fill the disk to 80%, and with that, I can, if I have something, a file that's like 2-3 terabytes in size, I can dump it to the drive array, and ZoneMinder will see that the drive is now over 80% full and automatically delete the oldest footage to bring the disk back within quota. And so with that, I get about a month's worth of CCTV storage. It doesn't require an extra computer or DVR or drive to store all of that. It's all in one place. Before, with the old server, I was actually kind of taxing the disk I/O because I was using slow disks and stuff like that. But now that we're using 16 7200 RPM SAS drives, which are 6 gig SAS, between 2 host bus adapters, the throughput and seek time is good enough that I can record 8 2160p camera streams to this thing at the same time, have it be my torrent seed box, as well as store all of the rest of everything in the house. And that is the server that we just moved to, and Monkey helped get Gen 2 working on that. I've used Gen 2 a bit before, but this is the first time actually trying it as a production box, and it's been pretty interesting. It's been an adventure. Mr. Gel, alright, this is about as late as I can make it. I gotta get some sleep, more CNC and CAM to learn about tomorrow. Hopefully I'll catch another stream of yours early enough to join again sometime. Well, I appreciate having you on. It's your contributions were certainly valuable. It's cool having like-minded people on who've experienced building printers and doing all this good stuff, because this is how we create ideas and share and learn things. So, all right. Sorry about that tangent, folks. I'm currently assembling the Y-axis belt pulley, and for that I need the pulley part. We got to get the pulley part. And this isn't their idea of a pulley either, is it? Is it really? This is okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. This is the Y-axis belt pulley. It's not really a pulley. It's not. It's more like Well, it's a bearing, a couple of lock washers, a couple of washers, and a bolt and nut. I guess you could use that as a pulley. All right. Why not? Indeed. Oh my goodness. Okay. So at this point, I think they have the printer turned around the other way, which I will do. And they have this oriented this way. Okay. And then I gotta undo all this mess. Now this nut is bigger than this. So they put the screw through there. They put the larger than the screw nut on the other side. They put the washer on, and then if you even want to count that as a lock washer, it's just kind of a piece of steel wire in a coil. Well, I guess I'll take it. And then our bearing, which I should oil up as I put this together here. Another lock washer. The other washer. And then the nut that fits. And this is supposed to somehow... I guess. Alright. I'm not impressed, that's for sure. But hey, if it works, it works. It does roll over the... So the washers don't actually roll. It's a guide. So just the bearing is supposed to roll. Okay. Yes, I dumped out a bag of hardware that had a bunch of washers. I don't know if they're extra washers or not yet. We'll find out. There's only one piece of acrylic. Yeah, M4 by 8. Yeah, I'm kind of with Monkey on this one. If you have this thing, and this thing goes on the end here, like, why couldn't you put a piece of acrylic on the other side too, so this didn't frickin' bend around when you applied a load to it? Because it moves a little. It's pretty thick though, and I guess you're watching on a live stream and you don't have anything for scale, but this piece of acrylic is 5 millimeters thick. Okay. What's up? Okay, we got our zip ties. Ah, so I use zip ties for that. All right, we are on step 8 now. For those of you just joining, hello and welcome to the Doogie Labs live stream. Today, we are live streaming our Tronxy X1 3D printer assembly. I got this printer to review with the intent that somebody who wanted a budget 3D printer that wanted to get into 3D printing might have a viable option through this. I sort of picked one out, went through, and this was what I came up with. And this live stream is sort of the pre-review video of sorts, where I have never assembled a 3D printer. Well, I have my CR10, but not completely from a box of parts where I have to affix all of the axis motors and set everything up and dial everything in. So with that noobness, we can sort of try this out, and you, as a person who's considering getting into this or purchasing this printer, can take a look and hopefully be able to gauge the skill level required to assemble this thing. So while this is going on, you are welcome to ask me anything. Hit that live chat down there below, and you can ask anything. We are welcome to discuss anything except politics, but that's okay because we're having fun with some printers. We've discussed air conditioning, we've discussed drones and computers and a little bit of everything else. So and for those of you who may not know this, I am also a computer and car guru, so I will be fielding any computer or automotive questions throughout the assembly of this guy as well. So hope you enjoy. Right now, for those who want to follow along in the build guide, we are, if you Google the Tronxy, Tronxy X1 assembly guide. Actually, this is assemble guide. We are on step 8, which is install the Y-axis timing belt, which involves some zip ties, or as I like to call them, Honda parts. All right, so let's pop you down to a little bit better view here. Down and dirty. If the camera would stay there. Ha ha ha. Okay. And both of these belts are the same length. Oh, Monkey, to answer your question from earlier, they do have steel in them. You can't see this because the camera's not really good on macro shots, but there is a steel band inside this belt. Where's my X-Acto knife? Or anything would work. It's so close. have to take the trolley off here just to get that to go. Yeah, I done goofed. Okay, all the way off works too, I guess. Boy, it did not want to go through that. Okay. Set up the T-nuts. So I don't know. So with the spacer nut they have, the belt wants to ride alongside one side, so I think I might adjust the spacing of this nut here. I'm going to leave it for now and continue with the assembly, but before I give this away to a subscriber of my channel, I'm going to fix all that. There's actually some other fixes and things we'll be going through on this eventually. Okay. So they want me to secure that with zip ties. I do believe they did give me some. Dude, you might want to have a chat with you if you'll be in Hangouts or IRC. I got an interesting offer at work. Oh yeah, yeah, we'll talk about that later. And I guess this might be where I throw a real idler and a belt on. Well, you know, I could 3D print a cog that would go quite nicely there. So, might do that. For those of you that don't know... Oh, shit. Oh, there it is. Whew. Thought this fell on the floor. Never see it again. I actually do a lot. There's a 24/7 live stream that goes on every day, and it's not a part of the YouTube live streams or anything. I very rarely do YouTube live streams, and I guess I don't know why, but if you guys really like them, I can do more, or maybe even a show or something. But there is a nightly live stream / hangout, and if you go to doogielabs.com and click on the welcome button, you can actually view that live stream, which is up separately from this one right now. And there's also a link in there to an IRC chat server. So I'm going to go ahead and set the height of this pulley. So for those of you following along at home, we are on step 8, install Y-axis timing belt. And what I am presently doing is getting ready to snug up this pulley. But before I do that, boy, that's just terrible. But before I do that, I'm centering it up so the belt travels down these slots without rubbing on the sides. That looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and snug it up. Okay. Now, one thing I noticed before continuing is that on the motor here, and this is totally another thing I goofed during assembly, and it's not like I've adjusted everything, but I'm about to tighten the belt, so this actually becomes pretty important. One of the screws for the motor mount has sort of went over the edge here, and this is not exactly setting flat. So I'm going to take a moment and make sure that that is ready to go before moving on. Okay, it's a good thing I caught that. That does change this some, so I got to go back and retension this belt. Or readjust the center of the pulley, I mean. Oops. Right about there looks good. How is the video quality? Is there any buffering? Is it pretty good quality? Okay. Now that's sorted. So I'm going to come back around to this end. And our belt tensioner, because you slide these outward to tension the belt. For those of you who are just getting into this, I have my belt on here, and after you get it trimmed to length and everything, the final tension adjustment will be done by sliding this outward. You can also slide it out a little bit at the motor end too. I've left it in most of the way. I basically stopped where this piece changes and comes down. I made that flush with the edge there. So I still have probably a ½ inch of adjustment to take out slack if I need to, but I really plan on doing all of that work on this end. Fine on my end, and my computer is just a single core on 10100 DSL. Excellent. Thanks for the feedback. Things seem to be dropping frames to keep up. Yeah, I've noticed that my stream health has gone down on the YouTube live stream, whereas actually, if I close this out, I wonder if that helps. All right, we'll see if that improves. But for now, 2 zip ties. 1, 2. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull this belt so it's taut-ish. So I can actually hear the belt dragging. It's hard to see, but the teeth of the belt are actually catching the edge of this because this is offset slightly. So I don't like that at all. We're going to fix that. I am also recording this to my local hard drive for later editing and review. My DSL connection has 60 megabit up, and we're actually hosting 2 live streams and a hangout at the same time, plus whatever the rest of the house is doing. Okay. Now, one thing that's not included for tools that you will need is a pair of wire cutters, or dikes, or to be politically correct, gay lesbian pliers. I don't have any here. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I do. Look at that. Magic. Yes. So we're going to go ahead and zip tie. They want you to zip tie the cable, or the belt, I should say, so it doesn't pop out. Okay, now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and trim our belts to length. I don't know how high the platform is that actually sits on top here. I feel like I want to leave myself some extra belt in case it needs to be repaired for some reason. So I'm going to... Or can I just fold these over? It is kind of handy having the... Here's what I'm going to do. Boy, those don't want to cut. Let's try a pair of scissors. It worked better than wire cutters. I'm just going to leave it like that because I can tape them down if I need to. Might let them just push on the build platform that when it sits on top there. But that is the beginning. Hey. For those of you who are just joining us, hello and welcome to the Doogie Labs live stream. Today we are building a Tronxy X1 3D printer. We're trying to see how easy this is to build. I haven't built a 3D printer before completely from the ground up like this kit is, so decided I would do this to get a feel for, is a $100 3D printer worth it? How hard is it to build? What are some caveats? So that's what we're going through today. While we are doing this, because let's admit it, this isn't the most exciting thing in the world to watch, it is an Ask Me Anything. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions, hit that live chat box below. I'll be following along here on the computer while we assemble this. If you want to follow along in the assembly, Google the Tronxy X1 Assemble Guide. That's assemble for whatever reason. At least it is on this PDF that I got with the printer. I am on now step 9, assembling the Z carriage. So we are moving right along here. So the Z carriage has a lot of bits on it. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside for a moment. This is a part of the Z carriage. Let's see, that's not going to be it. Oh, sorry guys. This will be our part, I think. Yep. Okay, what else do we need? 285 millimeter 2020. That'd be this guy. X motor mount, extruded bracket, brass nut. Brass nut. 6 plastic pillars, or plastic pillars. Fancy plastic, right? Oh, so fancy. There's 6 of those. 3 wheels. Wheel, wheel, wheel. And M5 by 40, 3 screws. That would be these, because we were thought they were 30 earlier. M5 lock nut. Whoa, lock nuts. This is the first lock nut. I don't see any lock nuts. Alright, what do they want the lock nuts for? Okay, they're nylock nuts. Alright, we don't need the AC adapter. Down here. I'm going to take some of this stuff off the bench here. So this doesn't have any nylock nuts. There's the screws. Make an adjustment here. Yeah, if there's anything I definitely don't have, it's nylock nuts. What the crap, guys? Okay, well, let's just go with it and see where we end up. So first off, this goes like this. And then we have screw, screw, this is the right one, right? Looks like it, yeah. 1, 2. That shows 2. So which hole does this line up with then? Okay. So this shows this. Oh, they spread these 2 holes out. Ah. Pull the paper off. Yeah, I'll get there in a second. I was looking at the picture and looking at the part, and I'm like, there's a discrepancy here. The discrepancy is, so there's big screw holes here, and in the picture there's 2 holes close to each other here, but they actually spread them out on this one, so. Bud! Oh, I see we have a Jackson. For those of you just joining us, hello and welcome to the Tronxy X1 3D printer assembly. We are on step 9 of the assembly guide for assembling the Z carriage. And let's face it, assembling a 3D printer is not necessarily the most exciting thing at every moment. So this is also an Ask Me Anything. So you all are welcome to hit the chat box below there. I don't know why YouTube asked me that question. But anyway, hit the chat box below. Ask me anything. Questions, comments, concerns, or suggestions. I know Super Brain. He's very thorough. And you know what? If he didn't say anything, there is a realistic possibility I would have forgot, because one thing I'm not good at is talking and doing things at the same time. I guess that's why I don't like talking on the phone, because I can't do anything. I just pace around. I just pace around and talk on the phone. Okay. This way. These go through here, and here, and here, and fancy plastic spacers. Wheels. Oops. Oh man, you know what's in this bag? There's a bunch of washers for probably these wheels. Okay. I'm gonna grab my oil. 3 more. These bad mamba jambas. To our fancy plastic. Okay, and then this goes on here like that. And now there's supposed to be 3 nylock nuts, of which I have 0. Work the oil in. Okay. Now the brass nut. And there should be some screws that go with that. M3 by 8. Which are actually M3 by 10. Oh, what? I think I grabbed the wrong one. M3 by... Yeah, exactly. They didn't call for them on the other axis. Why start now? I'm using a number 1 Phillips on number 2 screws. Ugh. Where's the bent one? Yes, the Chinese screwdriver makes a comeback. Okay. Okay, so on here, there's a hole drilled in this, and oh, this makes no sense. You barbarian. The bento you homophone. I'm triggered and need my safe space. Okay, I guess you can't make this stuff up. I'm going to have to share what I see on the screen here. Where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Here we go. Okay, so it has... I'm not sure if that's implying that that needs to be a hole. Is there a hole in this anywhere else? There's that. Oh, the handle, that's cute. Okay. So they don't tell you this in here, but this... So on here, this hole on the 285 millimeter bar, when looking at step 9, the hole needs to align with this screw head here, right here. So you got your T-nuts that you stick in the slots there, and when you go to line this whole thing up, you got to line that screw head up with that hole. Not that they tell you that, but that's what you got to do. So, okay, because that's not difficult at all. If you have big fingers, you might be better off putting the T-nuts on first before putting the base plate on. And then I get ballsy and drop the screw on the floor. Them Twizzlers. I really wished I knew where my real tweezers were. Okay. T-nut. T-nut. Yeah, that is exactly what it's for. It's just that they didn't tell you that in the instructions. You're just supposed to know. Well, the screwdriver does go through there, I guess. Okay. Boop. Okay, for those of you just joining, hello and welcome. We are assembling the Tronxy X1 3D printer on the live stream today. For those of you following along on the assembly guide, we are on build step 10, which I think is halfway, actually. So that's okay, I suppose. And we are currently installing the Z Carriage. Let's install the Z Carriage. This thing is pretty cringeworthy. I'm inclined to agree so far. Alright, so the Z GT216 pulley. So that would be this guy. So this is the Z carriage motor and pulley. All the motors are the same. The difference in the box is the pulley. And you can see here, this one has the top on it. I'm pretty sure that's the correct one. Just verify here. Yeah, it looks that way. If not, we'll find out soon enough, won't we? Okay, so we need to insert the motor into the carriage. Now, let's see. They have it oriented like this. And they have the motor like this. And do they have an orientation on the electrical connection? No. Well, at least they don't show one, so you can safely assume that it's pointing down. We all know what assuming does. And this requires M3x8s. 4 more of them bad mamba jambas. So far, we've had to add washers where there wasn't supposed to be washers. We have nuts where there are supposed to be nylocks. I'm not really impressed so far, I must say. Whoops. Back on. Okay, so flip this around. That's good to go there. That's good to go there. So we have that, and I think it wants us to go ahead and slide the whole assembly on. And that is what we're going to do. So here is our base plate with what we've assembled so far, and now we're going to go ahead and hang all this crap off there. So it goes like this. That is looser than a French whore. Look at that. That's just... what the crap? I don't like that at all. You know, that's almost my order of operations there. Oh, man. Okay, so this is just way too loose on here. There shouldn't be that kind of slop. I'm hoping that there's enough like slop in the holes that I can just kind of tighten that up. Ugh. Oh! Aha! That's much better. Okay. I think I'm gonna do that a little, actually. Yeah, it's a double piece. Yeah, no, we're getting close to doing something with eccentric nuts here. Sorry, I have to hold this off of the hold this out of frame to get it. Okay. All right, let's try that again. Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. Oh, yeah. All right. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm going to give it another dab here. Oh, that's a lot better. I need to do this on my CR10. I didn't oil anything on there. And that's instant regret because... what a difference. Okay. Now that that's working as expected, we can go ahead and slide this on here. You look well practiced at that. Oh, man. Okay. Step 11. Wow. We're on step 11, guys. Jeez. So here's the extruder. This is... I've never heard of that brand of fan before. That just seems like a lot of wasted area in there. Okay, so here's our extruder. I'll go ahead and feed this some lubrication. There's my 3 nylock nuts. The only 3 nylock nuts come on the extruder. I believe there's 20 steps. It took us 2.5 hours to get a little more than halfway. And it's not because it actually takes that long. It's because you have to go find a bunch of hardware to put the thing together. Okay. So those are well lubricated. What's the slop like? There's almost too much resistance. I don't know if I can adjust that or not. Let's see. It's because you have to invent your own instructions. I'll be back. I gotta grab pliers. Okay. Alright, so what I'm doing right now, as a part of step 12, is I noticed that there was it was a little bit too tight. Just a little too tight. So I'm gonna try and move these rollers away from the extruded aluminum a little bit. Don't know if this is gonna work though. Oops, gotta be careful here. Okay. Oh, got too excited there. Okay. We're getting somewhere. We are getting somewhere. Okay. So we're on to the next belt. I'll go ahead and slide my pulley on here. Oh God, again. Guess what the other pulley is. Let's see, that should be this guy here. No? Oh, this goes here? Nuh-uh, really? Well, what's the hole for? I'm not going to ask. I already asked, but never mind. Okay. Oops. Weight reduction. For those of you just joining us, today is also an Ask Me Anything. So if you would like to ask a question there, I am watching the live chat. So don't be shy. Okay, so here we go. Stupid pulley number 2 of stupidness. Right? Boom. Boom. And then we put a lock washer, and then the bearing, and then some oil. And then a lock washer, and then... Oh crap, I forgot half of this. This is an important part. Add some back on there because I didn't have a chance to spin it after assembly. That, and then that. Couple of T-nuts. Now, give me that back. I was just kidding. It like cross-threaded and I actually have to use a screwdriver. Okay. I'm just not impressed with that at all. You know what? I'm going to take this off of here for a minute. There's no reason why it needs to be on there for this part. How are they looped? Oh. Oh, that's weird. Does it do that? It does. Okay, so in the instructions, they have you literally taking the belt and sliding it under where the wheels go. So as this goes back, because these have to move, well, I guess that moves with the wheels, but, right? Yeah. No. Maybe. Not sure I like that, though. They have these slots on the top of it, though. It's almost like a... it's really not. Okay. I believe you. Do 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 do. Okay. Will you stay on there, pulley? It will now. Alright, so once again, it's kind of the same move as earlier, where the adjustments are in as much as possible. The exception of, well, this end is fixed. So the adjustments are in on this end. I've got my belts pulled, or my belt ends pulled fairly tight here. I'm going to give this a little shove. Once again, this nut that they're using as a spacer for this, what I guess you could call idler pulley, It makes the belt rub. I'm not impressed with that. I think I've said that several times now. It's not changing my mind. That's okay. Alright, I think they want me to go ahead and tighten those. Oh! There's another... These all have the same lengths of wire on them. Let's check that out. Yep. Excellent. Now on this end, they have this guy sit here, and this is where this micro switch mounts to act as the end stop there. So, bloop. Go ahead and put that on, and they have the switch over the front of it like that. So I guess what we should do first is T-nuts. Or no, we can't. Can we? No, we cannot. Okay, that's fine. Just do this. Get that switch put on first. Oh, did I get the orientation correct? I believe I did. Now we're going to take our screws and a couple more T-nuts. Bend that out of the way slightly. I mean, you could have done a little bit better with the placement there. Okay. If there's one thing I'm definitely learning from doing this, it's that I could have probably designed a better printer. I tried to pick a printer that had more of the extruded aluminum parts than it did like acrylic plastic parts, because I know that the extruded aluminum parts are square within a certain tolerance and rigid within a certain tolerance, whereas if all this crap's made of plastic, you don't necessarily know what you're getting for tolerances. So I thought this would be a good solution, and I haven't tried any other $100 printer yet, so I don't know how this would stack up against others, but it's an interesting design nevertheless. Alright, so we got our limit switch in. Bloop. And that's pretty good there. I need to take an Allen wrench and secure this pulley now. Can I turn this pulley around? Turn this motor. Oop. Make a little adjustment to this. And I wish YouTube didn't suck so bad about copyrights and all that stuff, because playing some music would probably make this a little more entertaining, right? Make my own music while I go. Okay. So that is assembled. Step 13. Woo! I already did. Oh, wow. They have you double it over. Okay. Double it over, double the fun. This has nothing to do with double income. There is still 10 people, oh, 9 people watching this. I am impressed. Go. 2 more zip ties. Get some from Julie. So I think before I start modifying anything from how it came, I'm going to fully assemble it and test it as it is. And then we're going to go and take it back apart and do some mods. Some mods! Alright, there's our belt. Ooh, it's getting serious now. Okay, so this is our trunnion ready to go. Look at that. Boom. Throw this on here. Okay, so we have our screw, motor, Okay, so this, so this thing came with a 3D printed part. And this is what the 3D printed part is for. Let's see, M3 by 8. For those of you following along at home, we are now on step 14 of the Tronxy X1 assembly guide, which is the Z-axis motor. So we're assembling the Z-axis stepper to its mount, and then we'll put the screw in and get our whole Z-axis trunnion settled in there, or carriage, or whatever we want to call it today. For those of you that are just joining us, hello and welcome to the Doogie Labs live stream. Today we are assembling a 3D printer, and while I'm doing that, I'm also taking questions. This is an official Ask Me Anything, so ask me anything! This is so cute! Little spring. Okay. And this goes here, like so. Need a couple of T-nuts. And the M4 by 8s, I'm assuming. No! M4 by 12. What? So this 3D printed part is what supports the Z-axis motor here. Okay. I probably should have thinking for a second here. I might change this up. Yeah. The orientation of the electrical connector is pointing straight towards the back. Oop, dropped a T-nut. Got it. Okay. ready to affix our Z-axis screw motor to our tower of power. 3D printing cheap power. Yeah, sure, that sort of represents flat. I have to go back through this when I'm done and make sure everything's square. Okay. I'll loosen this up really quick. Come on, I got a T-nut that's not cooperating. There we go. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and snug these up. I kind of wonder if you need to grind a flat spot on this shaft. Maybe not. Okay. Throw a little bit of oil on there. Okay. Starting to come together. Hey. Hey. Getting somewhere. Boom! 3 hours in, and we're on step 15. Filament feeder. Oh boy! So we got a bag here with some goods. Oh wow, these are metal. I am impressed. Spared no expense. Sorry. Orientation of electrical connector towards the other motor, huh? That doesn't make sense. I don't know, maybe it does. Okay. More of these. Oh. Getting ahead of myself. This goes here. They have a metal Bowden extruder. Okay. Having trouble here. Let's see. Feeding gear with grub screw. Extrusion clip. Extrusion seat. M3 by 22. M3 by 16. 1. So that's... Does this just not get a screw in it at all? Really? Okay. Huh. just doesn't seem right. And this wants this to just... That's how that works? Are you fucking with me? Oh, fuck. Trying to get this spring in here. Can't really depend on the... Come on. Oop, just from pushing on that, I made it all come out of tolerance. It's alright, I'll pop it off and cinch it up when I'm done. Okay. Handle. All right, actually, I'm going to take a break. We've been going at this for almost 4 hours. I'm going to take a quick stop, get a snack, and then I will start a second live stream with the finishing portion of the Tronxy X1 3D printer assembly. I thank you very much for joining us up to this point. Keep an eye on my subscriptions page, and you should see another live stream here in an hour or less. So until then, thank you all for joining me, and I will see you soon.